Hello and
Hello,
welcome, Maskan. How are you? Welcome
I'm
to
good.
season two.
Finally, I'm seeing you after a long time.
Yes, man. It took a while for us to gather back our thoughts and bring
The
something a bit
momentum, right?
different. Yeah, and bring something a bit different from what we were doing before.
So,
Um,
Minal,
so mm, yeah,
rapid fire for you.
yes,
Why
tell
we took
me.
a break? Why we took a break?
I think we were just tired. There's so much work going on, man. It's like I just wanted a break to not do anything at all besides work. So that's one thing for
And a
sure.
lot of pitches happening.
And damn lots of pitches happening. So I think it was a good break. We got to take some downtime, think about how we were doing it before. We had quite a bit of feedback. I think for us from Pakistan, had a lot of feedback for us, and that's a good thing. We spoke to almost, I think, more than 20 people in the last first season, right? And it was interesting point of views, and I think we learned and we wanted to change it a bit. So this is like the change of a bit, a season two, which is a bit refueled. We're looking at different personalities now that will not be from Pakistan. They'll be outside Pakistan. They're people who we know, who we've interacted with in the last 5 to 6 years in Malaysia. So you'll see a lot of faces coming in. So with that to start off with, Maska, I just want to give a bit of an intro of what today's topic is, and maybe some nuggets of information before we just kick off.
No, I think I'll keep the intro for our guest. I think she
Okay,
can introduce,
works
she
for
can
me.
talk better on comms. But I think
Yeah.
one thing which is different this time is that I think the major feedback that we got is basically why we are not giving feedback, why we are not giving our point of view on that. So I think this time
Mm-hmm.
around we'll try to put our point of view as well on the table if it is
Absolutely.
relevant. So
Yeah.
next guest, shall I just play the intro? Now we have an intro
Let's
as well.
let's begin.
Cool. Hello. Hi,
This
Kamakshi. What's up?
electric guitar and all.
I know, right? Full rock feel to start off with, right?
Did you like it at
I was
11
like,
p.m. in
wow.
Singapore?
You got your picture there, you got your fame. I thought we just start off with that. So thank you very much for joining us today, Kamakshi. And I think it's late in Singapore. So is it in Malaysia? And thank you for taking our time. Hope you've had your coffee. And I think before we start, so we have this rule: whoever we bring in as a guest, we don't introduce them; they introduce themselves. So we'll give
Yes.
you a bit of while. Tell us who you are, what you do, and how you know Mars from before.
And the twist is that the guests actually not just introduce themselves, they introduce the host as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm Kamakshi. I'm one of those like old school planners that did a lot of planning in India.
Yeah.
And then I got a chance to like move to the region. So I moved to KL, which is where I met Maz Khan. Ta-ta.
Ah,
Maz and I met on a pitch. I had just got off a 15-hour flight, and I was
Yeah.
told to turn the pitch around in 2 days, which was
Mhm.
awesome because nobody had done anything. so, so I think it was Maz, and Maz was just like calm and cool, and he was, and I think it's one of the topics we're going to talk of today, which is how creative and media agencies actually work together. So we were thrown into a room saying, "Hey, brief, please, we need a pitch, we need to win this pitch in 2 days." Okay, so I was really jet lagged, and I was like, oh, "These people, a lot of abuses happened, not too much to other people." Uh, and yeah, and I think I remember telling Maz this, and this is not just because it's a show, but it's the first time I actually felt like we were collaborating. It was always somehow clients had thrown us into, creative agency, media agency partnerships. One brief, and come back with a collated strategy, one strategy, all of that.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I actually felt like it worked. And I felt like we were jamming, we presented, we had like no time to rehearse or anything, but we did what we had to. And we came out feeling damn good, yeah. And
Mm.
also then I joined Mars for a few beers because he lived like on the next road. So that was
we were like
uh,
neighbors.
Exactly. But we never really met as neighbors. But yeah, anyway, it was great fun. Mars has been super helpful. Even now, when I want like KL insights and media insights, I actually texted him like, dude, can you send me some like Ramadan media insight? Because it's like time of day, time of week, time of month,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and it's fantastic. This guy is just out there and he really cares for his craft. That's probably why he's so good at it.
Yeah,
Mina,
just to say this,
Thanks,
wait,
Kamakshi.
before you say
Thanks a
that, this
lot.
show is not about Mars.
No,
This show is
it's
not
not
about
about me.
Mars.
It's about like a profession. In fact, a part of the profession you love the most,
You
and
are
we had a
saying too
lot of.
many good things about him. I don't like it.
यार काम
Too
करके
many good.
मजा आया.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Like,
loved it. I think the best part is that I think we lost that pitch, but at least,
That's what I was going
at
to
least,
ask. So after
I was
all that
telling this
intro,
bad Mars. Like,
but at least I won a good friendship. At least I'm happy with that.
वाह, ये बाजीगर वाली बात.
so he's always been people of dialogues, and Shah Rukh Khan is one of his favorite artists.
Shah Rukh Khan
So
पे बात
so
करेंगे. We'll come back on that later.
so thank you so much for that intro. And as I said before, welcome. It's a very casual show. Just be yourself. Just talk through things what you feel makes sense. So today's topic, right, is basically the role of strategy in comms itself. And I think the first question that I have for you, or we have for you, is um, what is the role of a strategy person in an agency? What do they do? That's what I want to start off with.
So let me give you the casual answer. Okay.
Mm.
There is a target that you want to hit. There is a gun that you have. There is a bullet. The
Mm.
bullet is creative and media. Pointing the gun to hit that target is strategy.
Okay, interesting
In some
analogy.
cases, identifying that target is the strategy. By target, I don't mean audience. I mean karna kya hai? Like, what do you really want to do? Whether it's a problem you want to solve, whether it's something you want to establish, whatever it
Yeah.
is, the thing that you want to achieve, the thing you need to overcome, the thing you want to create or do.
Mm.
I think that's the target. The way we achieve it is through actual creative and media. But strategy is the thing that guides it in the right direction, probably defines that direction. So that's the way I've always seen it. Another way
Yeah.
to see it, I think like it's a good mix of art and science. So I was doing some growth program and it's something that I've always felt. You look at the moon and it's, somebody could make science from it, somebody could make art from it. I think the role of strategy is to bring that together, is to use logic,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
science of,
Yeah.
and to write the poetry behind it, which is the art of it. I mean, now it's dependent on how creative strategists can actually get, but
Yeah.
I think that's for me, that's what strategy is.
So
Hmm.
I've got a follow-up question on that, right? So there are strategy people in the creative agency and there are strategy people in the media agency. And I'm sure you've interacted with both sides of the world, right? Because you came from a planner background, so you worked a lot of media agencies before, right? How are they different? So you sitting in the place that you are, and I give you an ex person who's sitting in media, and you guys was working on the same pitch, right? Is it two people doing the same job, or they both have a different kind of gun, or kind of the direction that they're going for?
That's a good question. I actually think whoever does the job, I think it has to work as one.
Mm.
Before this, I was actually working at what is called a integrated agency. I used to brief the creative and media at the same point. I had to give a media
Yeah.
point of view as well as a creative point of view. I had to figure out audience affinities and all the stuff that I basically didn't do as a creative strategist. I had to start doing. What I
Mm.
realized was that both are, you don't separate the two really, and they shouldn't
Yeah.
be separated. So at least the way I saw it, and this is a new or downstream realization for me. I mean, I spent many years just doing brand and campaign planning, thinking about creative idea, creative strategy. But I
Mm.
think that as I got more familiar with, so I think over the years, in the last decade or so, the proximity of creative agencies has gotten closer to media agencies. Even clients are starting to get them together more often. We're meeting with
Mm.
our media partners more often. Media partners
Mm.
are house, out of house, we pitch together. And it's coming
Yeah.
together for a reason because that's how it should work. Now, the lenses are slightly different. I feel like maybe media focuses a bit more on who and when and where. And I think maybe creative works on how we bring it to life, like what so you're thinking about behavior, you're thinking, but I feel all of that can come from media as well, right? The media, your product usage. There's a squeezy bottle that Marmite or Heinz or whatever made. That was a media idea, technically. Or putting a label in a Patagonia short saying "vote the assholes out." It's a media idea. So
I have a different point of view on this, right? So sorry to cut you short on this one. I feel the lines are very blurry, and I'll tell you why that's the case. And exactly from what you just said, right? It's the fact that a media idea was converted into a creative execution. And at least in my experience, in the people that I've worked with in the media agency who are great strat people, they don't think that they are creative or media, right? They will go to solve the business problem. Now that could be anything, right? As you mentioned before, it could be as simple as I want to drive penetration, so I want to save my brand's butt or whatever it is, right? And they would think from that first, right? And I think the creative agency strat person will think the same also. Where the lines get blurry is that the solution is not just about the who or where; it actually becomes the how also as one combination sometimes. So I just feel that they're more blurry than so specific now in that sense.
I mean, absolutely. I don't even think about blurry. I think that they've, at least once I learned that more integrated way of thinking, I could not separate content from context. So, what you put is very important by where you put it. For example, why do we now design differently? You take Facebook as the universe right now. Facebook is different from Instagram, is different from WhatsApp. How you use them is very different.
Absolutely.
So if we are thinking of any kind of a solution, it is about and could that Patagonia idea, the tab, the clothing label idea, could that have come from creative agency or from media agency? Doesn't matter.
It could come from outside as well. Yeah, from the client itself. Okay, I have a question, Kamakshi. Kamakshi, okay.
It was hard for him to say, by the way.
It's very hard for me for some obvious reasons. But anyways, in terms of you started off as a planner in one of the agencies where planning role is very powerful. What do you feel that, okay, as a client, if you think that the planning role is really important, right? What, in terms of currently, do you think that it has evolved into a certain different role? Or do you think that now, do you still have the planning and the suits and the creative? Still, we have that kind of a space in the agency's world, or do you think that now it has morphed into something different? Because when you started off, it was a clear divides and all that.
You're right. It's becoming different because I'm doing different things. So I'll tell you where we started. We started with very clear, defined spaces of brand and campaign strategy, almost like communicating with clients was account management's job. Writing the script was creative's job. Only very secure creatives would actually take your ideas and move and say that, oh, Strat came up with this. So that was a couple of things that happened. I think what has happened is a couple of things. One is that agencies themselves have changed, right? So we're competing with the Accentures and the Deloittes. We literally compete. They do customer journeys, by the way. So you guys must know. So the point is that
I think we all know that keeps media agency people and creative agency people awake at night, right? That's it.
Exactly. So, I'm doing everything from market prioritization, which to me is also strategy. So, which markets should we be entering? How should we be phasing? We have only $100. How do we make that work, right? So, from business or market level consultancy, brand and campaign we were always doing, but then social and digital. Now that starts to go into actual creative and copywriting. It goes into actual guidance on platform roles, etc. We're actually creating and writing playbooks for social global. So strategists are writing playbooks. I didn't think that would happen back in the day. Now, is that a account manager's job? I don't know. Is that a creative person's job? I don't know. Is that a strategist's job? I don't know. Down to even CX. So we currently do CX where I work. And for example, today we presented a first round on website content strategy. Now, did I think we'd be doing that? I'm not so sure, but we're doing that now. And I actually find it super exciting now because if you see goal of a brand campaign and I'm trying to build those connections, eventually it's all about the journey, right? So yeah. So it's about those connections and it's about how a brand campaign speaks to, for example, a website. And in the middle of that is also search strategy. Okay, that's just
So
like a
it's okay. They can walk as well, right? I don't know why I had to.
No, it's just one of the neighbors was just partying on my roof, so he's transiting through. No worries.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think if one another question is that I think we all know that. I think Minam can agree to it as well. The work that we were doing like 5 years back as compared to what we are doing right now, it has evolved like multiply by 10 or 20, right? You're doing completely different. You spoke about the website and all that. Do you think that now you must have reskilled or upskilled yourself, right, as a planner and strategist to be relevant in today's? What do you think are the skills needed, must have needed? Like when you joined like 10 years back, you might be knowing about insight, customers, consumers, all that, but what are the new things that you feel that, damn, I need to know that, if I don't know that, I won't be relevant?
Yeah, I mean, it's happening to all of us, right? So I think like old school planning or strategy started with the basics of marketing, with the basics of business, media, research,
Consumer
brand,
behavior.
campaign, consumer behavior, all of that. The thing that I have had to skill up in is, first of all, the first question that Minam asked, which was, how is creative and media different? I didn't think of media as my job about 5 years ago. I really didn't. I mean that. And I've had to learn everything. So, I mean, of course, we were getting media plans 10 years ago from, Nestle, Zenith accounts, because we had to analyze seasonal campaigns, weeks on air, in the days of weeks on air and all of that. So, but I've really had to learn a lot about, for example, measurement, for example, audience targeting, for example, different platforms and how we really work with, digital marketplaces. So that for me is one of the learnings that we've had to do. The second is data in general. I mean, whether it's audience targeting, whether it's data tools, whether it's social listenings, insights, all of that, it's become your basics. It's become your alphabet of strategy. And this didn't exist 10 years ago or what. I mean, I've been doing this longer than 10 years. So when I learned, I didn't. Those are two core skills. Along with that, I think CX is becoming a big conversation. I think commerce to commerce is becoming a big conversation. Anything is available on e-commerce. I mean, you pick up Dollar Shave Club. It's a brand case. It's a e-commerce case. It's a category disruption case. It's a everything case, right? Same with Uber, all of the disruptors, so to say.
Yeah.
So because of that, I think we have to learn. I'm not going to call it e-commerce, but I'm going to call it sales channels, right? So that's the thing we've also had to relearn. Another thing is CX. Overall, CX has never really been a
It's okay. Let the party keep on happening.
Yeah, CX has never been a website or an app thing. CX is everything. I think CX is actually sort of the journey, but how it really, how people actually experience it. So it has a lot to do with humanized insight. It has a lot to do with creativity. It has a lot to do with technology. So those are things I'm now trying to learn. And I think like another thing that we should start learning is website and app analytics. The way people actually interact with, for example, a Dollar Shave Club will give you the strategy for the next campaign. If Dollar Shave Club has to grow, they came up with a kick-ass business model. It disrupted the big people like Gillette and all. Now what? So I think those answers will come from like web and app analytics, which I don't have. Those skills I don't have, but we need to have, or we need to hire our team or staff accordingly. You need to have somebody who can do that and get insights for you. And that is those unicorns that you can't find, which is the people who are excellent at data, but people who are very, very good with marketing and strategy.
Yeah.
$1 million question.
True.
No one has find it. Now, if you have any questions, I have a rebuttal question to it, which is very important. We discussed
Go
it.
ahead first.
I want Kamakshi you to do a rerun for it. At the end of the day, there's a lot of work that we're doing, right? CX, this, channel planning and all that, and all comes to strategy, right? And I think we discussed it at a very nice location. client actually pays for the creative. So let's give an example of a media agency and a creative agency, right? For media agency, client pays for media buying, media planning, all those insights is free of cost, or FOC, right? No one pays for it. It's a media buying commission that they pay. For creative agency, the output that the client see is basically the creative. It's the creative they pay for. It's the creative. It is basically a supporting role strategy, right? Do you think that this will ever change?
I think it's different clients already. First of all, I have a point of view against free of cost. Anything FOC tends to be valued a little less than something that you pay for. Let me give you an example of a Groupon or a Fave coupon. If you get something free, if you get a coupon free for a free massage or whatever, you may or may not use it. If you paid
Yeah.
30 ringgit for it, you'll make sure you used it, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I feel like strategy actually goes a bit upstream, not just it doesn't just feed into creative, but it goes up and it assures clients why we create that creative, why we buy that media, why they both should work together. But what we're doing, why we're doing, whom we're targeting, what is the problem we're solving, what is the connect to business, all of that stuff. I
Yeah.
feel if in one word, it gives the client assurance. At a better level, it should give the client inspiration.
Yeah.
So I think that assurance of am I doing the right thing, especially now when there's so much to be done. Like we spoke of so many things right now, right? What should we be doing? What should we be spending money on? People are destroying their own marketing teams. I mean, by destroying, I mean restructuring. You know, somebody fires somebody CMO, somebody hires a new growth officer. Marketing in itself is flux. Strategy is client's best chance of trying to understand what's going on. Otherwise, I mean, there's enough of those shops that create social assets. And
Yeah.
I've spoken to some of those people there. And in a country like Singapore, it's surprisingly little how much they know. I mean, it's just simple like client told us to show the product, so we show the product, you know. So it's, of course, that stuff will get views and exposures.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But what's the thought behind it, right? How did you come up with that?
exactly.
No, no,
And
it's
strategy, like what are you getting people to actually do? What are you getting them to believe? Are you trying to get them to believe that this is
yeah.
better than what you're doing? This is something you must do, whatever it is.
I think it's two things, right? It's in terms of what type of clients you're working for, right? So a lot of clients give you the liberty to come back with something interesting, something that makes sense, and they will push you beyond your wildest dreams to make it happen. Some clients would probably not even know what strategy is, right? They would say that exactly what you said. Show me the product, and I want an e-com banner and just whatever, just make a simple execution. So that's this mindset of execution mindset versus, a brand building mindset in that sense. And that's my next question actually. So in today's COVID world, right, where a lot of money has shrunk, media budgets have shrunk, right? People are focusing on the lower funnel more than they are focusing on driving consideration or driving awareness in that sense, right? Now, in that war between building a brand versus getting sales, what do you think is going to happen very soon? And how can we convince these amazing marketeers that if you don't build a brand, no one's going to bloody buy it? So even if you're doing lower funnel, if no one knows you and no one loves you and no one cares about you, no one's going to go to your e-com webpage, right? So in your mind, in the role that you are, how do you think we can do that as media or creative or as a combined agency effort?
Okay, so I think there's this like somewhere there's this wisdom which is like 70% brand and 30% short-term profit. So 70% long-term brand building, 30% short-term profit is the right balance. And you're right, the world has changed. Clients' budgets have changed. So what do you do with that?
Yeah.
I think some of it comes from the fact that eventually there's a Shopee sale and you put things on a Shopee sale and it is cheap and it will sell. Okay, there's a massive
Sure.
erosion of margins that is happening on this short-term discount thing, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you
Mm-hmm.
remember how Grab started in Malaysia, it was super discounted. It was like 3 ringgit, 4 ringgit rides. I mean, I remember that. It was a user
Yep.
acquisition fees, and now they're up to their 15, 20 ringgit rides, right? Whatever it is right now. So, I mean, I think it needs to be done at a brand. okay, sorry, there's another angle to this. The brand is not just long form films. Okay, it's not just Baag Achhe Hain. It's not just Share the Load. I think that there's much, much, much more to brand building. If you look at actually Grab as an example, I find it a fantastic example. They do very little advertising. They just do top of mind recall in their outdoors, right? But where they deliver their brand, as does Apple, is through product experience. So, brand building, first of all, we have to get out of this. We have to have a perspective and a purpose, and we need a long form film. वो सब नहीं चाहिए. I mean, not necessarily, right? It's great for brands to have a perspective, even more so, especially in a parity categories. Coke versus Pepsi, blind test won't matter. There's a reason why that brand exists. So that's the first way to look at it. The second way to look at it is that brand building tends to be slow burn, okay? And spikes tend to be very, very short term. If marketing roles were long term, they would want to invest in brand building, in long term brand building. But when marketing managers are forced to show results in, okay, what this is your KPI here, and you need to hit this. Of course, they'll also run and do the short term. I mean, wouldn't you? Wouldn't we? We all would do that.
They
right?
have monthly KPIs. Gone are the days of yearly KPIs. They are monthly targets they need to get.
Exactly. So it's becoming like a sales job. So marketing is becoming a sales job. So that's the other thing, right? The third is that structures are such that, for example, I've seen product procurement, marketing, sales don't talk to each other. Actually, sales starts to hate marketing, all of that. So the structures are super, super siloed. If you look at all of this, now, what I said before about brand not just being a long form film, but also like the product experiences, how this phone works that makes me want to buy it at a Shopee sale. What did Apple really do? How much brand building do they do? Not that much, right? They just put their product up on one hoarding. So they've got different sort of a strategy to it. But there's not. What is Apple's point of view? I mean, the last point of view was 10 years ago. Not really been much of a point of view. So I think we need to look at it from a different sort of a perspective, which is what is the category we're in? What is the stage of life of the brand? What is the stage of the category? And get down to that mix. I think we need to empathize with our clients also. Their jobs are riding on those KPIs. We judge them for not doing brand building. But the truth is, uska not just promotion, but uska naukri is on the line. So, no, really, I mean it. So
I agree, because especially with this current, I think this year and last year, it's pretty hectic for them, and there's a lot of restructuring. And
so where I would net out is that if we had to deliver the reality of short-term goals, because people are losing their jobs in this pandemic, the truth is that the joblessness is high, and a lot of it will start to come from marketing, will go fast. People need sales people. They don't really need marketing people, right? Who's going to go between them? So I think we need to empathize with the client, and I think we need to build brand experiences even when we deliver, say, a promotion, or even when we deliver. So if you look at, I mean, Apple is a great way to, they tier their products, okay? They keep their single one product, October launch, always at the top. And the previous models, their obsolete models, start to discount down. That in itself is a way of short-term sales, right? Launching an Apple iPhone SE, a value model, product and brand experience, both. That's another way to get short-term sales, right? All of those are ways. And do you know what the Apple SE was? It was the 7K body and the 8K software packaged together, or the 10K software packaged together, sold as a value model, half the price of a regular iPhone. But that was a short-term spike in sale as well. It wasn't a brand building. It was a short-term spike in sale. So I think that there are different ways that particular marketing manager managed to net customer segments in that weren't previously or couldn't previously buy an iPhone. That in itself is a way of him hitting his targets in that year, and using product or brand experience, product experience to deliver that.
Okay. One more question on this lower down the funnel, right? In terms of the audience targeting, right? And here my question is basically for brands who are more aspirational. So, for example, Apple, right? A more aspirational brand. Do you think that with previously we used to have TV and out of home and all those kind of a mass mediums where you can't really target a lot, right? You can give it to everyone. some people can see it and they say, okay, I can't buy it, but at least the aspiration is there. But now, because of this whole targeting, right, you're as targeted. You can go to someone who can go as like 9-month pregnant women. You can target as well, that targeted. Do you think that doing that, you are actually killing that aspirational value of the brand? Because a little bit of spillover is good, because at least some people will see it. They can't buy it right now, but at least 5 years later they can.
I think that's a really good question, Mars, because any good strategist, creative or media, let's just call it a strategist, will understand that there is a halo effect. So, for example, we do a lot for the government of Singapore. Yeah. And while the government of Singapore might have some very specific targets, for example, we worked on something for the Ministry of Defense, right? And of course, you want to target, for example, young engineers to join. It was a recruitment campaign, right? So what am I doing? I'm trying to get young engineers to join the Ministry of Defense versus joining Apple or Google or Facebook or whatever, right? That was my task. But we had to build a larger pride, and that's how we structured our strategy, was a general public campaign, so that the parents of those young students would say, Shabash beta, go join the government of Singapore. It's not a boring conventional job as compared to those dollars and the shine of Apple. And, so for example, any good strategist would think that not just the larger halo, but even employees, even recruitments as agencies, we need to think about how we are attracting talent as well. It's not just what we do for our clients. I'm very conscious about how at least my workplace is projected in public, in our industry, and how our ability to attract the best talent. We are a service-led industry. So to your point, I think that also exists. But on targeting, I think there's something very interesting happening down the funnel. We just sat in a TikTok training yesterday, and even down to social commerce, there are influencers that can add a post and then say, I like this product, and in one click you can buy it. So social commerce is here. You've like taken the funnel and you've flattened it. The minute people know about something, the second minute they want to buy it. Not even minutes, these are seconds. So even the funnel is like, we were talking about funnel, right? Like, so of course that brand has been built somewhere, but there is something that compresses it very, very fast, which is also social.
Which is true, but then it goes back to short term, right? So if you push, you will get it. Organically, you'll not get anything outside of that, right? So if I'm a brand that's not known, I'm pushing it through this amazing celebrity who says that I love this product and can buy now, you'll go and try it. But then if the brand is not known in the market, there is no organic reach towards driving sales. So short term versus long term, what you were talking about earlier. We have this other very interesting question that we wanted to push to you, and we wanted to see what do you think about this, right? So in terms of comm strategy, in your mind, who should lead it, right? Who should completely own this and lead this? The advertiser themselves, the media agency, or the creative agency? Now, don't say it's an integrated approach, because we know it is, but there always has to be someone who leads it. I'll tell you why there's someone who needs it, because the information flow is very, very, very important. So the media guy can come in and say, I've got this bank of data, and what I can do, no one else can do. The advertiser might say that I know my brand more than you can ever think of. And the creative would say that I know how to bring it to people, bring it to life, right? But in reality, if you were to pick up one, who you think is the best team to lead this?
I'll add one more to the mix, a consultant,
The twist,
like
a
Accenture,
consultant, yeah,
Deloitte.
yeah.
That's a good one, because I've actually seen consultants come up with brand platform or whatever, in India. I think it's a really good question. In my experience, I've never seen an advertiser saying, I want to lead the strategy for this. They do come up with a brief, but I think most of them are really happy if we help them write the brief. So
Yeah,
all through creative media briefs, FMCG clients, technology clients, anything, I've sensed maybe they're just uncertain, unsure about what they really want to do. Very few clients have seen, and all the way up to China and Japan, I've seen some clients be very sure about what they want to do. But I haven't seen that coming. And I've worked for about 14 years across the big and the small in 3 countries. So I haven't seen that. I'm just saying, I don't know where it should come from. I've just never seen it really happen.
Yeah.
I have a
I've
point of view. I think it's the client should lead it. Being a devil's advocate, I think client should, because they own the brand.
and they're closest to the brand.
Yeah, they're closest to the brand. They are the more. They have the most information. They have the most information flow that a lot of times you can't even share to outside, right?
Yeah,
And there's a lot
it's
of
as
small.
simple as, and I agree, it's as simple as developing a new product, right? So imagine if a creative or media person says, I need to develop this new scientifically proven bullshit to sell to your consumers, but you don't even know if you're able to do that because of their supply line, their product issues. It takes 6 months to create whatever, right? One brand that I've worked with in Malaysia, Singapore is Coke, and they are very close to the execution, the strategy, and also the big ideas. And they own it like no one else. They will be part of it. They will push you to come back with something interesting, but they will always have an interesting point of view, and they will also come up with ideas that they can lock back into the big idea. So, for example, if we come back and say do XYZ, they will already know, is it possible to do it through supply? Can we create new, for example, as simple as creating new cans, right? Or branding or stuff like that. So they're very close. So I've seen them work very nicely, at least in the experience that I had with
I
them.
think that's like Kamakshi told about this unicorn, right? Being a good brand on the brand side, brand custodian at a client side, that I think that's the bigger difficulty
Yeah,
to get that unicorn. You need to get uh, experience of distribution, sales,
yeah, the whole nine
creative
yards.
media, and someone who can gel everyone together. That's the unicorn. That's very, very difficult to get, and some people are. Let's be honest, there are people who are shining in that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, there was once a time when the CMO of Nestle in India, fantastic guy. Okay,
I thought
full.
you'll talk about Malaysia, but it's okay.
No, the CEO of Nestle India sat in a studio till 4 o'clock at night until
Hmm.
her recording was done. He
Yeah,
cared so deeply and so passionately about it that he almost directed the output. I'm not joking. That's how
that's
much.
not a good thing. That's not a good thing, by the way.
It wasn't a good thing, but his passion. So, okay, first of all, he was
But it
smart.
depends. But
It
it
wasn't a
depends,
bad
right?
thing.
Yeah. So if
but
he
it
He was
depends
feels
how
really
it's
good,
good at
done.
his job.
yeah.
He was
If
really
he's
good at
good,
his
that
job
makes sense.
because he had the mix of, like how Mars said, he had the mix of the rigor of the distribution and everything. But he had that brand fire where he really wanted to reach out, do something different. He knew a good idea. He knew how to push. It wasn't always comfortable, but he did that. I've
Yeah.
also been exposed to Coke systems, and I have to say Coke's processes, and we all know where it comes from. Comes from great marketers, great brand builders. There's
Yeah.
no two questions about it. Their processes are incredible. The way they work, the way they bring things together, incredible.
Yeah.
They know
Absolutely.
more than anybody else in the room. But I can't say that about too many people. Yeah, it should be the person, but I don't know if it's ever been. The other perspective is, why do consultants, by consultants, I mean not just consultants, but all of us as consultants, why do we really work? It's because we give a fresh lens to it. Why do you think secondments don't work in the long run? It's because people need to sit in our environment with our stimulus, with our what we're doing right now. That doesn't happen in many other places. So I think that all of that, I'm of course going to say that I think that the creative agency should lead it.
Yeah. We
But
knew you were gonna say that.
It's
but
okay. You can say.
I said it. I said it. So
Let's
I
agree
do.
to disagree on it, but it's fine.
Frankly, we can have this off-record discussion of me and Mars's experience. But anyways,
No,
we
I'm
will take your
actually
word for it.
absolutely okay. I'm saying that
Yeah.
neither creative agency nor media agency. I'm thinking it's the brand should lead it. That's
Yeah.
if you own the brand, you should
So
own it as well.
no,
Every
I think we have a divide here now. So she's saying it's gonna be creative. You're saying client, and I personally believe it should be media. It should be the media strat person.
media is just one part of it, Manam. It's not like literally of the
Depends on the
brand.
depends if you have the chair on the table. So if you have a position as a partner, you can move much more than you would if you
No,
didn't even
I
get
am
the
saying
chance to
that a
be there.
chair on the table has to be for everyone, like a
Of
creative
course,
agency. We are the
absolutely,
right partners,
absolutely.
but the chair on the head of the table should be the client.
Yeah, true, true, true. That also
Um,
makes sense.
but we also, so the truth is, no real strategy or no meaningful strategy can actually ever happen without media data, without client
Yeah,
market data, without brand data, without, again, I'm going to say media data. The data comes from media for sure. Like any information on which you build your strategy does come from media, and that I completely agree. It's just about doing who's been taking the lead on the part before we get to the solution has,
yeah,
in my experience, been a creative agency. I'm willing for talented people from everywhere to come together and do it. I can spar with a client or with you guys, or I would
yeah,
love to do that. And
yeah.
I mean, it's not an ego battle at all. I actually don't think what I do is the most important thing. I actually think what my creatives in this case, or my website designers, or what they
It's
do
much
is
more.
actually
Yeah, it's more
the
beautiful.
what you said. Yeah, it's what the client sees, not just what the client sees, it's what the customers see. Everything
Yeah.
behind it is what we came up with. They come up with the sexy shit. Like,
Yeah, that's true. So, thank you so much for today. I think it was a wonderful conversation having you here. Do you have any closing comments? Do you have anything you want to say before we kind of say goodbye to you tonight?
I really want to know why in the ticker smoking is injurious to health is running.
Because
Because
me
of
and
this,
Mars keep on smoking, no?
we keep on smoking, right? We don't want
We
to
don't want
encourage
to.
people to
Yeah, it's a
start
bad thing.
smoking.
Don't do it. It's very
Well,
bad.
I was like, that's a bit random. Like these views do not reflect the views of the companies, and then smoking is injurious to health.
We both
um,
keep on smoking.
I think in terms of closing comments, all I can say is that I think nothing excites people who care about this craft more. I don't think it's about creative and media. It's not about teri meri. I think it's about like, dude, when can we the kick from the job comes when you can actually talk to someone about it, when you can jam with someone, when you can spar. People who really care, they don't need to be right. They need to
Mm.
evolve. And I mean, for example, I've had discussions with Mars where I felt like I learned. And same goes, that was, I think, the point of that whole campus that we were in. That was meant to
Yep, yep.
make that happen. And I mean, for better or worse. But the point is that I feel like there has to be more conversation outside. And unfortunately, our jobs are so intense that I don't think we talk enough. And I don't think we think enough, to be honest. Not because we don't want to, we can. So, I mean, what I have is like, I think this would be, yeah, exactly. What's another way to look at it? So that's the part of strategy that I wanted to leave you guys with, which somebody had just written me a letter, but it came with this, and I keep it now next to my desk because I try to use it in work every day. I'm trying not to be so logical in life. I'm trying to give people fresh perspectives. And I think that really interesting strategy or solutions that are different will come when we look at things in different ways. Media
Mm.
solutions, creative solutions, integrated solutions, client solutions. So I guess that's something that's like sort of keeping me grounded. I'm trying to do this more often. I'm trying to talk people more often. And yeah.
I
All right,
completely agree.
perfect.
I think just want to add, I think a majority of the strategists, I think someone told me that they don't even meet people. If you're behind a computer screen looking at the data and trying to understand consumer is like, spending their life in front of the computer is not being, if you don't even meet people in daily life, then how can you be a strategist?
Exactly. Go places, do things, be exposed. I mean, I found out about non-fungible tokens. That's the new conversation right now. I'm like, what? The world is moving into weird directions, dude. Like, that is money. CryptoKitties. Did you guys know about
Yeah.
CryptoKitties? This is
Yeah.
2 years
Someone
ago.
actually bought the first tweet in the world, a Malaysian, like for, I don't know, some,
Exactly.
One point something
yeah,
billion
I was
dollars,
like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. My point is that the world is moving faster than us sitting behind screens. So let's talk, let's get out there, let's do shit, and let's do shit in. I mean, we can sell another Coke, but what's another way to look at it? I really
Yeah,
like that.
yep,
So
absolutely.
we have
cool.
to keep it fresh.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Kamakshi, Thareja. I'll just, last is thanks, Kimmy.
Thanks, Maz. Thanks, Minam.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Good
Take
night.
care. Have a good night. Bye bye.